Almost a third of our lives is spent working. If you're a Christian, you want to do God's will. I know I want to do God's will. And so work can be the number one place that we worship God. In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 different ways to approach work, and then a practice at the end to really continue to anchor us into working as a way to serve God and to find fulfillment and joy in whatever circumstance that we find ourselves in. I pray this blesses you. Take what you need and leave the rest. I'm going to tell you like a simple parable. This guy's on a journey and he comes across a stone cutter and he asks the stone cutter, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm cutting a stone and I'm making it very exact and I'm making sure it's this size." And he's very meticulous about his stones. Like, I cut stones that look perfect. And he's like, "Oh, okay, wow." So he goes to the next guy and he says, "Sir, what are you doing?" He's like, "I am building a cathedral by cutting stones and making sure they're perfect to fit into this gorgeous vision of this cathedral that someone drew up," whatever. That's just a comparison of 2 different people approaching the exact same work. They might have the exact same stone cutting. It might be perfect. Both of them might be perfect. But one is connected to a big vision of how this stone is going to fit into all the complexities of this task. And the other person is focusing just on the task and the work. Now, they might both work with diligence. They might both work hard. But one is going to experience something different, some more meaning to his work than just the work itself. Why having a heart that opens us up to work with joy, peace, patience, the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5, to be very biblical about it, is going to help us experience our work in a way that might feel more life-giving than if we just have it be arbitrary or we're trying to just work to live. I just want to get work done so that I can retire or that I can get to my weekend, golf trip or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hard work can be frustrating. I've been excited about, I can't wait till this work season is over so I can do X, because we're always moving forward. We're future oriented in the sense of we're moving in time forward. And so there hopefully is that next that gives us some hope. But if we don't show up with our work, with our full true selves, and honor God with that, we can spend a lot of our time wasting our work and being frustrated with it and wanting to get out of it. And it can make our lives miserable. It's made my life miserable when I hate work, when I'm just so depressed. I drink more, I'll be more cranky, and I'm not living a full life. It leads me to depression, overeating, like all that type of stuff. I imagine some of it, you've probably feel me. You're like, yes, I have worked in jobs where I'm like, get me out of here. And even roles that you're not making money at, it can still be really frustrating. Being a parent, taking care of a disabled child, or maybe having a disability and not being able to work and feeling like a sense of lostness or listlessness, like that can be so frustrating and depressing as well. I'm going to share with you 4 key principles to have any job potentially be a vocation, a way of worshiping God and becoming your true self in Christ by having these 4 intentions as you work. A quote from Thomas Merton, he's a Trappist monk, and he really talked about how we can work in a way that creates chaos and anxiety, or we can work in a different way. So I'm going to give us this contrast, this kind of negative way of working before I go into the 4. He says this: unnatural, frantic, anxious work done under pressure of greed or fear or any other inordinate passion, cannot, properly speaking, be dedicated to God, because God never wills such work directly. He may permit that, through no fault of our own, we may have to work madly and distractedly due to our sins and to the sins of society in which we live. In that case, we must tolerate it and make the best of what we cannot avoid. But let us not be blind to the distinction between sound, healthy work and unnatural toil. So what is sound, healthy work and unnatural toil? I'm sure a lot of ideas can come up to you, a lot of different roles or jobs or the way of approaching. I've had really healthy bosses at a restaurant when I worked, and I've had some really unhealthy, shaming, critical, chaotic bosses at work. So they're both in the same roles, but how they present and show up based on who they are and what they believe in really impacts how they show up and how the culture is created. And there's some things about work that are exhausting, that is just what it is. So there's 2 scripture verses that I want to frame this conversation with. The first one is from Ecclesiastes 2:24, and it says, this is about work, satisfaction in work. It is from the hand of God. Work is a gift from God. We can find joy and satisfaction in our work by how we show up to it. The second one is in Colossians 3:23. It says, whatever your task, put yourselves into it, as done for the Lord and not for your masters. Your approach to work can become a place of intimacy with God. versus it is something that I have to work for the man. Or we can get bogged down by all those earthly things, which are true. That's true. You are paying taxes. You are maybe whatever. I don't know. Unless you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you're not paying taxes for that. I don't know. It's not about being slaves to that, but within your power, within your ability, how do we respond and live in our work? Having vocational integrity can be quite simple. It doesn't have to be in an ideal situation, but it can be a reflection of what God is doing inside of us, how we are responding and loving Him through how we are stewarding what He's given us. And that doesn't mean you have to stay in a job that you hate, but it does mean that we have some control of how we experience it and what we do. So if work is a gift, then how do we want to tend and care for this gift? I'm going to suggest 4 ways that I found from the book Courage and Calling by Gordon T. Smith. It's one of my favorite books on vocation. The first one is excellence. And 2 Timothy 2:15 says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved by Him, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly explaining the word of truth. So he's reaffirming the vitality and the importance of the spiritual life, Paul is, that we are given gifts and capacities, and we want to be true to ourselves as we express them, that they are part of a way of stewarding our lives and working with excellence and allowing our abilities and our talents to be used to benefit other people, to work well, so that God sees how much effort we put in and what we do to make it the best that we can, whether that's you're drawing up engineering plans, or you're an accountant, or you're serving and caring for somebody who maybe is elderly. Whatever that is, your work can be done with excellence to the degree at which you can. Obviously, our energy fluctuates. Sometimes I do not show up to work 100%. I'm like bumbling around, because our energy does fluctuate. Within our power, if we can choose to be excellent, it is a way to honor God and really to honor ourselves, because how you do one thing is usually how you do everything. Not in all cases, but I find that tends to be true, that like when I cut corners at work, I cut corners at home. And now some of that may be preserving energy, so you might be doing too much. That's the reason why you're doing it. But it's important to look, what's keeping me from doing excellent here? What's keeping me from being my best? Do I have some resentment at my job? Do I need to look at that? That's important to name and not just force yourself into like doing a good job just to be perfection. Second one is to live in truth, to be integral, to not lie, to be honest with your coworkers, to not gossip. So to be a person who speaks the truth. I believe the truth sets us free. And so if we can be honest and fair, and that reveals God's glory, that is a witness to other people, and that can allow us to feel congruence internally, which gives us contentment. When I feel like what I'm doing on the outside reflects what I'm doing on the inside, and it's like a connected thing, I feel so much more whole and feel just affirmed, and I feel joy and great and satisfied. Even if I'm tired at the end of the day, I feel like, wow, I did my best and I was honest with it. It doesn't matter what the task is, to some degree. Obviously, if it's like too much, sometimes I've had tasks I'm like, this is too hard. Like when I was like trying to figure out an accounting software, that was very hard. You know what I mean? You have like things in your job, you're like, this is crazy too much for me. But if I'm truthful, I'm like, hey, I can't do this. I need help. That's actually helped me get the support and resources I need. But when I was trying to do everything myself, like, oh, I can figure this out, and it like took me forever, and I would like lie about it. That wasn't cool. It wasn't fun to do that. So be truthful if you can. The third one is diligence. So the verse that speaks to this is 2 Timothy 4:2, where it says, whatever the time is favorable or unfavorable, live with it in the utmost patience. Or I'm kind of botching that translation. I didn't fully write the verse down. But having patience to your work and showing up day by day, even if you're not fully getting the reward or the accolade or the movement that you want, showing up and doing the best that you can, even when something is frustrating, shows your character and is a way of creating a life of meaning, that you are finding value in using the gift that God has given you. Be patient. Maybe it's not going after get rich quick schemes or ignoring the things that are important in life that are more eternal for this low-hanging fruit, whatever that is. Being diligent and putting in the work and the labor to build something, to think about the cathedral in your life or what this work is, that there's going to be deeper meaning behind it, is a key thing that I found to help me feel fulfillment even when work isn't the way I want it to be. The fourth one is generosity. Being generous with how you not just show up, but what you do with your time, being able to be available for other people, being able to give and not always expect something back. That's contractual. Now, in a career, hopefully you're getting rewarded. You're getting either money or you're getting some type of emotional connection, but sometimes we don't get that. It's not to be like abused and just to work for free. No, we have all have bills to pay. Well, most of us do. We need to have some type of either reward. Is it worth the time, worth the money, whatever? But there are some cases where like a parent is taking care of a sick child and they don't have a reciprocal relationship. So what does it mean to be generous, to giving and working so that someone else can have, and maybe it's depleting you or it's taking from you, in the sense of it's not an equal, you're getting exactly back what you're giving, but it does create in you a space for God to fill. It can create deep meaning in your life when you are pouring into other people, when you are sharing a life and being generous with your time and your resources, whether that's monetarily or emotional. And so I do think it's really important, though, to make sure you're filled up, because there are situations where it can be easy to be drained and to neglect caring for ourselves. A good example of this is in an airplane, the oxygen mask, you put it on yourself so you can help someone else. If you don't sleep enough, if you don't take care of your body, if you do not get the love and support that you need and you run on fumes, you will make chaos, and it can be hell for other people. Taking care of yourself is really important. So all four of those things can, at the extreme, generosity can become codependence, diligence can become overwork and burnout, truthfulness can become rigid and you can become controlling with that, excellence can become perfectionism, where that can also feel rigid and you can beat yourself up and it can turn to criticism. So to temper all those things, it's important to, I believe, engage in some sort of Sabbath practice, whether that's once a week or once a month where you have a quiet day, a 48-hour retreat, or you just have moments of your day where you can pause and spend time with the Lord in an intentional way to get your needs met spiritually, emotionally, physically. Because if you are doing all of that for other people and you are not coming from a full self, it's so easy for us to start using people, for us to start taking on too much. Whenever I actually get stressed, I tend to take on more. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. And I get overwhelmed. And then I'm resentful. And then I'm blaming other people. So then I become a victim. And it's like, no, I took this on. And taking care of myself is really a priority because I'm actually more loving and I'm available for other people. That's what I found in my life. I'm talking really external and not really concretely, but I want to make this as holistic as possible so that anyone watching this video can be like, yeah, that's me, or I can take a piece of this. Because if I am too concrete with it, I feel like people can feel excluded from the conversation, and I just want it to be more accessible. Another note is balance can be really unattainable sometimes with different careers in life, and I get that. And it's really a matter of going, Lord, what are the values that I really am drawn to and connected to? How am I fulfilling your call on my life by the gifts that I have? An easy way to go, oh, what does God want me to do, is go, well, how am I wired? What am I built for? Doing a couple personality tests, or having some people that are close to you reflect what they see in you that you trust, and seeing what opportunities the Lord gives you is a great way to discern your call, or what your job you want to have, or how you can potentially steward, especially if you're newer to your career journey, or maybe you want to change your career. You can do those four things, I think, on almost any career, and that takes discernment, obviously, with you in your own life and like what God is doing. Check out this video next if you want to know more of how to thrive in a job that you hate. There's some practical tools that I share in this video. And yeah, let me know down below which one of these four things would be kind of the hardest for you to do. And if you want more practical like thoughts on how to potentially flesh them out in a more concrete way, let me know below. I can come up with some examples and we can dialogue about it. All right, well, I will see you in the next video.